Please start.
Okay, so in my opinion, before going ahead with everything else, we need to clarify with Mr. Shah as to what his total production cost per pen is going to be. Because if he's planning to sell it at 1 rupees, but the cost of the ink alone is 70 paise, then how is he going to be able to bridge the gap? And I mean, ultimately, it might just end up going in a loss, right? So we need to first identify what his total manufacturing cost is going to be.
Also, I believe that this is a game of numbers and not a. This is a game of mass selling rather than uh, talking about less profit. I believe that when the pen starts selling in huge quantities, the cost of transportation and other aspects will be reduced, and hence I believe that this business is feasible. But Mr. Shah will have to look into multiple different things such as placement of the market and where he wants to sell the pens and how what competition he has.
I think before getting to the feasibility, we need to identify. So, if we're talking about say the cost of the pen, right? We think 70 paisa goes into the ink. Other than that, the rest of the plastic he might probably get it cheaper than than the other counterparts or the other companies selling pens, considering the fact that he himself is in a plastic molding business. So that is one way probably how he's compensating the cost. But other than that, also he needs to because he has been in the plastic molding business. He has not been in the uh, uh, end consumer chain, right? When he actually have to talk to newer distributors and newer selling points. So he needs to. So we first need to actually identify the distribution chain that will go through for the pen, and identify points where people would actually be able to buy it more. So a lot of market research has to go before we can actually comment on the ultimate feasibility.
If we go by the numbers, as stated by Mr. Shah, that uh, he's planning to sell the pen at rupees one, and the manufacturing cost would come around 70 paisa. The cost of the ink only would come around 70 paisa, and that would leave him with a 30 paisa margin, in which he has to include transportation, supply chain, manufacturing, and apart from that, he has to also give money to probably workers as well, and also as rents for multiple industrial equipments and space for running the equipment. He'll have to start thinking on how he could gather up the market and make sure that he gets a major share of the market, so that he earns more on the amount he's selling, rather on on the number of pens he's selling, rather than the amount he's getting from one single pen.
I agree. So for that purpose, maybe he starts off with I believe first of all that the cost of the pen would have to be slightly higher than one, not as high as rupees 5, but even if it's up to rupees 2, that would give him a larger margin to cover the costs while still being considerably cheaper from from his competitors. That is one thing that I believe could be done, because ultimately we don't want to make the company bleed, right? I mean, he has a 4 lakh rupees profit, yes, but it's still a 4 lakh rupees profit, and he has to continue running his plastic molding business as well. This is an expansion, not a substitution. So I believe that we have to go along those lines, whereby we can probably just increase the price, not by too much, but just to give him insufficient margin. And also in terms of the marketing schemes, maybe we actually market it to the consumers based on the fact that it is easier than going through the hassle of changing the refill every time. It's a cheap alternative, and along if you market it along those lines, maybe there could be better consumer penetration, which would ultimately help in increasing his number of sales and cover up for the lower costs. Also, when it comes to the branching out of the pencils aspect, I believe that first he should establish his sector in the pens industry, because the manufacturing cost for him would be lower as compared to pencils. Pencils require wood, and getting a retailer for wood would be another hassle to deal with. While starting a new endeavor in its own, it might get a little complicated for him. So it would be better if he streamlined his resources into developing a market for one place. Plus, if he already has a brand image that is established and he has already a consumer base that is trusting his company, getting in newer products and getting the consumers to use the said products will also be easier for him.
Just like Snigdha said, we could also tell Mr. Shah that since he wants to sell the pens at rupees one, and then the cost of the ink itself is 70 paisa, which leaves him with 30 paisa to incur other bills, and in order to make profit as well, he could rather just get into the other stationery business initially, like pencil boxes or other plastic made items or raw items, which could be easily manufactured for him because he's already in the plastic molding business. And this could also help him to first start with the stationery, which is very cheap for him to manufacture and could give him better profits. And then he could probably increase his portfolio to pencils and then pens and so on.
I'm a little skeptical about the whole pencil box and other plastic products part, because uh, pencil boxes, unless it's a pouch or something that does not require a design per se, you would actually need a separate designing team to tell you how the product has to be designed. And then you'll need say something like a sticker, for example, if it's a children's plastic box or something of that sort, or some sort of engravement on it that has to be done. So that would require its own set of machinery, right? Engraving is not usually done by hand these days. So that equipment would require another investment. So while I'm not saying that it is going to be that pens are going to be cheaper or anything of those sorts, but saying that we should go into the other plastic industry because pens are getting expensive, I don't think that's a valid argument, because even that would require the same amount of, if not more than the same amount of investment at least as a manufacturing pens would.
Shubham, would you like to summarize?
Yes, sir. The case was there was a person named Mr. Shah who was in the plastic modeling business and he used to earn 40 lakh yearly. Uh, then he plans to make a plastic pen while the other competitors, the manufacturing cost for the pen was rupees 5 and the resale value was of 50 paisa. Mr. Shah was offering a pen at rupees 1, but the cost of ink was at zero point 0.7 paisa. We came across various points like the manufacturing cost is going to be high since this might not be including all the transportation cost, the supply chain, the rent, the electricity cost. Then we also came across the point that he was trying to gather up the pen market share. Then then we came across a point that he must first establish his pen business, and getting into pencil business might require a lot of wood which he doesn't have any experience in. Then we came across a point that we thought that he could also start a business of a pencil box, which is easy for him as he has a plastic modeling business. But then we had an argument that this business would require a separate designing team, which may be an extra cost for him.
Ayush, please summarize.
Uh, so we had a debate uh, on the topic that there was a guy named Mr. Shah who was running a plastic molding business, and he was making decent profits from this business with along with decent revenues. He wanted to pivot to he wanted to start uh, manufacturing pens, and in order to beat the competition who were selling the pens at rupees 5, he wanted to start selling the pens at rupees 1. But the cost of ink itself would be 70 paisa, and this would leave us with 30 paisa for other things. Apart from also, Mr. Shah wanted to invest himself in other stationery items as well, like pencils and so on. So we started with the discussion that the 30 paisa being left is very less, and uh, when it comes to the amount being saved, uh, we discussed that the 30 paisa would include multiple things such as transportation, supply chain management, giving money to the worker or rent for the place, and so on. And hence, it would be very less feasible for Mr. Shah to start this business. We also discussed that it could possibly be that if Mr. Shah sells more number of pens, then he could probably make a turnover or make a profit in this business. Then we also discussed about increasing the price of the product from rupees 1 to say rupees 2 or something, so that there is a huge margin for us to sell the product. Apart from that, we also discussed that it is very unfeasible for him to start thinking of manufacturing pencils and other stationeries immediately, because the the amount of effort required to gather raw materials for these products would be hard. We also thought that since Mr. Shah is already in the plastic molding business, he could probably start making pencil boxes or other stationery items which are mostly plastic made. But then we had a discussion that we separately need an entire design team and marketing team in order to sell these boxes, and a lot of equipment would also be required to manufacture these stationery equipment. This is where we ended our discussion.
Okay,
I
fine.
believe that 30 paisa for all the remaining things is too less, and hence making profits in this business would be a matter of selling more number of products and getting a good market share in the stationery business.
Okay, thank you. This case may look very innocuous, but it is discussed in some of the premier management institutes during the MBA course, maybe with little more data. See, this case is typical where you can discuss the four P's of marketing, product, price, play, promotion, and everything. We don't know whether he's already into manufacturing of tiffin boxes, pencil boxes, etc. So maybe he's doing that, and so he already has um, covered market for children or school-going children's products. So that is why we may have thought of making this pen. You didn't give any argument from the consumer side. For example, if he's selling a pen at 1 rupee and you say, let's say in 2-3 years time, a consumer uses 10 pens, then he will spend 10 rupees. And in case the same consumer goes for the other pens which are existing in the market, then also for one 5 rupee pen and then 9 refills, he is spending 9 rupees 50 paise. So would he like to switch or not? So one point that I think Snigdha said is that the hassle of refill, changing the refill and all that is avoided. So the other thing that you probably missed out was that the competition is selling 50 paisa refill while his ink cost itself is 70 paisa. So maybe he's using some better quality ink, or maybe his ink will last longer. So those are the things based on which he can market his product. The other thing is that he already has a turnover of 40 lakhs and a profit of 4 lakhs. And he's thinking here in terms of selling 1 lakh pens at 1 rupee. So turnover wise, it is very small compared to his existing turnover. It's hardly what, maybe 2% of his existing turnover, and not much profit. But maybe that's his strategy for getting into the market. And then, like Ayush said, that he will increase the number of pens and so he'll start making profits. But otherwise, only two of you spoke out of the three, and you continued it for around 10-12 minutes. Even if it was a larger group of people, the discussion would have been somewhat on the similar lines that we have. So there is no harm in it. And as I said, this case is being discussed from very many years in some of the prestigious institutes during the course of these and similar cases. So, do you have any questions to ask?
So if there's this case discussion like this, are we supposed to give like a final conclusive advice at the end of it, or is it okay if it's just hanging in the middle like ours did?
No, usually it's very difficult to give a conclusion in 15 minutes of discussion on any topic, whether it is a case like this or it is a general topic for group discussion. What they were looking at is that you participate throughout the discussion. Don't try to dominate the discussion, but your presence should be said, and whatever you say should be logical. So
Okay.
they don't expect you to conclude and give some solution to the case or the discussion.
Okay.
Also, sir, will they just be reading out the case in such a manner?
No, they will be giving you a sheet of paper.
Okay.
I'll post
Because
it from
it will be
next
super
week.
hard, I believe, to
No, they won't
get
read
the
out.
facts in that.
They will give it to you.
Okay.
That's why I repeat it.
Okay.
But I'll put it as a note if you want that. That's fine.
No, it's fine. Now I know the entire topic properly.
Hmm.
स्टार्टिंग में समझ
So,
नहीं आता आपने जब दो बार भी
one
पढ़ा क्योंकि वो नंबर्स मेरे को याद नहीं हो रहे थे क्या नंबर्स थे मैंने लिखा भी बट
thing,
मेरे को कंफ्यूजिंग था
जैसे शुभम said कि 5 rupees is the cost of the pen,
50 पैसा is the selling price and
selling
all
price.
it was the
ये सब तो
हाँ
गलत है ना. 50 पैसा तो रिफिल
हम्म।
का प्राइस था, पेन का 5 रुपीज था।
हाँ, मेरे को
तो
रिफिल एग्जिस्ट ही करता है करके नहीं पता था इक्वेशन में अच्छे से।
हाँ,
मेरे को यही नहीं पता था कि रिफिल को ऐसे पुट करना है कि देयर इज नो रिफिल फॉर मिस्टर शाह's पेन एंड देयर इज अ रिफिल फॉर
अच्छा।
अदर कंपनीज पेन।
Yeah, Vidhi, you had
Also,
some
what
question.
if
बोलो, बोलो।
what if we give very like one-sided answers? Say we incline towards that business will not run itself. Is there a setback for this as well, or do we
No,
have to
see,
be
see,
dynamic?
in MBA as in management, no, you should not make very stark statements. Okay,
Hmm.
just be. You may say that it doesn't seem to be a feasible thing, but don't make a very blanket statement that this business cannot run.
It is not feasible करके.
Don't
ठीक है.
don't be very rigid and don't be very one-sided in your discussion, because that means you'll get noticed and you'll be grilled on it in the interview. So just try to look at both sides, and try to, since there's not enough data here to go by. And plastic molding
Okay.
machine, what is the plastic molding is like, you get those plastic granules, right? And you put them
Yeah.
through a machine, molding machine, and you get the final product, and then it is, the sides and all where the protrusions and all, these are cut by hand or whatever. It comes in the market. So these are not very big factories, small machines, and you just pass the granules to the machine and it takes some shape, whatever it is. Maybe you don't need a designer. The company which makes the machine will make the design for you.
I was
So
thinking of putting this forward, but I also have another doubt again. Say if I know the facts for this, like Signa said that a designer would be required for the making the plastic box, and then multiple stickers ke liye things will be required, equipment will be required to print it. I knew that it is a small scale setup. So
uh,
how do I like go about
you
uh, telling it to
say,
the other person?
just say, just say that plastic molding machines are not that expensive, and uh, these are these are made by the manufacturers as per the design given by the person who's buying the machine. Finally, sell it in
तो
the market.
उसमें कुछ स्पेसिफिकली में से ऐसे पूछा तो नहीं जाएगा ना कि
Yeah.
आपको अगर इतना नॉलेज है तो आपको एग्जैक्ट स्पेसिफिक्स पता है क्या इसके बारे में?
No, they won't ask you in depth for these kind of
Okay,
statements.
okay, okay.
If what you are saying is correct, then they will accept it at face value. Not
Okay,
they won't argue over everything that you say.
okay, okay.
But sir, abhi jaise I said कि you need a designer for everything and like for the finished product and everything. Now, if that is essentially wrong, so will that lead to like my points being cut or something of that sort? कि इसको तो पता ही नहीं है क्या चल रहा है types.
No, they don't take. They also don't take very drastic views on single opinion. So if you have been consistently saying sensible things and one which is not so sensible, that won't go very much against you. They may ask you a question in the interview about this, but that's it. If you are able to defend it, then it's okay. And if you are even in the interview to say, yes, maybe I made a mistake, they'll accept it. No harm. I'll give you a
Oh.
small example. We had gone for a workshop, uh, but these 2-day workshop and all those happen na, for people who get calls from IIMs and all. So we were doing a case related to milk, and me and another guy who was a fresher from one of IIM A, B, or C. We were the observers. There were 8 or 10 participants who were there in the discussion. So at some point of time, the other observer, who was a fresher from one of the top IIMs, he said that importing milk, there's a shortage of milk in the country and all that. So he said, somebody in the group said that we'll import milk and all. So he said that importing milk will be difficult because it's a very bulky product and all that. and the chances of leakage and uh, it getting contaminated and all that, and you'll have to refrigerate and all this kind of thing he said at the end of
Hmm.
the GD
Hmm.
as an observation. So I didn't say anything. Then later on, I just told him that see, when milk is imported, it is imported in powdered form. So it is dried, the powder is imported, and then again water is added to it, and you get liquid milk. So
Oh.
it's not that you import milk as it is, and so you have to preserve it because milk is uh, I mean, perishable, na? Within 1 or 2 days
Hmm.
it gets sour.
Ah.
So you don't import milk as milk.
Oh.
So so he, having gone through these 2 years of school and all, he made a wrong statement in front of the other guy.
Okay.
So they don't expect you to know everything, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Also, sir, in this case, जैसे अभी there was this whole discussion on how like he'll sell more products and then he'll get profit out of it. Uh, so can we give examples like that's how Swiggy, Zomato also initially started. Now they were slashing prices on deliveries and everything, and then they built up their whole consumer base, and then they gradually increased their subscription prices and everything. So is that like can we say examples like that in such a situation?
You can say that, but the products here are different because we are dealing with a matured product here, and
Yeah.
Swiggy were dealing with a new service, and there was a lot of financial backing which Swiggy Zomato had, which this guy doesn't have.
Hmm. Okay.
So scaling for him would be on his own. There is no venture capital funding and stuff like that for these kind of small ventures.
Okay. So
So
can we suggest
can
that as an option? Ke, ask for investments or something of that sort?
Yeah, you can say that maybe he can build a little bit of his franchise and then look for financial support, or maybe he
Hmm.
can get some more financial support if he has a long-standing business which he seems to have. Then he can get loans from banks and then build up his brand using that in a little
Oh,
larger way.
okay.
But those things don't work because see, the difference is the product here.
Hmm.
A pen is not a very high value product and not a new product to the market. So
Understood.
Sir, but don't you think comparing two businesses which are not at all related to each other will put a problem mark there?
yeah, that's
Like,
what I'm saying. That it has to be somewhat similar. That's what I said initially, that we are looking at two very different products or
mm-hmm,
services. One is
mm-hmm,
a new market service and one is a mature product. So
mm-hmm.
relating those two would not seem feasible. You
Also,
can
relating products and services in itself would not make sense, right? Like in general.
if it's a new to the market product, you can,
Hmm.
but it should not be highly unrelated thing or something which you cannot relate to or people cannot relate. It should not be something on those. Like here, for example, Pen and Swiggy, I don't think the comparison is decent.
Yeah, no, like I was just thinking like a marketing strategy point of view, not like the product per se, but
But
how
then,
they.
see, for that you need very deep pockets, right?
हाँ, so that's why I was asking कि ऐसा कर like बैठेगा कि नहीं
That
बैठेगा? That's what I was
that
asking.
he that already I think he has thought about it because if he is having an ink cost of 70 paisa and selling the pen for 1 rupee. So maybe in initial stage he just wants people to try out his pen. And so he's willing to forego some of his profits of 4 lakh that he's making. No. So his
Hmm.
Sir,
target is like
आपको ये जो थॉट है ये थॉट मेरे को भी आया था. फर्स्ट थिंग आई गॉट वाज दिस कि ही मस्ट जस्ट बी एक्सपेरिमेंटिंग विद इट एंड
हाँ
Obviously, because from those numbers, anyone should be able to guess कि this is not a game of making money from one product, from one pen.
हाँ
It is a
हाँ
game of making money from lakhs of pens, not lakhs, but a lot of pens.
right.
So
So he's
do we
probably
put that
testing the
out as
market.
well?
Yeah, he's basically testing the market at this stage. With 1 lakh pens is not a big number, no.
Hmm.
If he's a local player, then 1 lakh would be a decent number, and he tries out, and then these things have local players dominating the market sometimes. No? Like Link Link Pen became very famous when one of their owners, who was a bit aggressive with marketing and all, in the 90s, I think 1990s or early 2000s, he came out with big branding, Amitabh Bachchan and this and that. He brought new types of pens to the market, so that he changed the whole industry. But here, he doesn't seem to be doing that. But yes, he might be trying to bring in new technology, uh, because you will be surprised to know that, I mean, not today, but around 25 years ago, we had gone to visit a small pen factory in Calcutta. There we did some funds, and they were telling us all these things that our pen market is not very matured. Even the ink is imported. I mean, the owner was telling us that ink is imported from Germany or Japan, and the nib, there is a ball, no, in the ballpoint pen, there's a ball which goes,
Hmm.
right. That is also imported from Germany or Japan or something like that. So he said we are very backward in terms of manufacturing stuff and things like that. Even small things like these have to be imported. So maybe, but they may be of better quality. For example, printing technology. 2, 3 decades back, we hardly had any decent kind of printing where the boxes, the packaging of products was not so good as it is today.
Hmm.
So things evolve over time, and there are people who sort of bring that change. So maybe we're trying to do that with the pen. What else?
That's it, I
Snigdha
think.
Snigdha and Vidhi, are you okay with 7:30 tomorrow?
I think so.
Oh, yeah,
Vidhi,
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
I
ठीक है, तो
usually have a class at 7. मैं आपको बताती हूँ confirm करके कल है कि नहीं.
So tomorrow we'll have the class, like 3 days a week. We'll have class at 7:30. That is on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And if that becomes a little problematic for most of you, then we'll maybe make it twice a week or something.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good night, sir.
Thank you.